Good evening. I hope everybody's doing very well. What I'm going to be talking about is two of the oldest football clubs in Glasgow, Rangers Football Club and Celtic Football Club. Now, the Rangers Football Club was set up in 1872, March 1872, with a few boys as they walked through the West End, which is now called Kelvin Grove Park, and obviously they started the idea of starting a football club up, and obviously that started, the first, that's how they began that club. Obviously they played their first match against Calendar at the Fishers Hot area in Glasgow Green in May in the same year, and obviously the Rangers' home ground, Ibrox Stadium, as everybody knows it, was designed by architect Archibald Leach and opened in 1929, and it is a Category B listed building in Scotland's third largest football stadium, and it's always been played in royal blue shirts. And then obviously you have the Celtic Football Club that was founded in 1887. So it was with the purpose of thinging for poverty. It was a priest or something, I think it was. It was a brother Walford. So it was obviously set it up because obviously the poverty in the area, that the areas there, and obviously now the two football clubs, they play Old Firm games and away games and things like that. But just because you're either side doesn't mean you've no get. You have always, when it's an Old Firm game, people are going rah rah rah, sitting arguing with each other. It's always been that. But out of the stadium, people are best friends. The Rangers and Football Club, they also do charities and things like that as well for children and things like that. I mean, it was been up for different things. So it is. They've had different players. They've had Aaron McCoist for Rangers. Walter Smith was manager. God rest his soul. I actually met Walter Smith when my oldest son was small, and I've met a few other players throughout the time, and obviously some of my family members have get tickets to go to for tickets for the games. Obviously, Celtic is like the same. They do their charity matches and things like that. Both teams obviously are different sides of the city, which is funny. I mean, look, some of the side, this the side, the side of the city is all Celtic, but at that side where the Rangers players are, Rangers Stadium, sorry, but that where Celtic players there's a lot. Celtic Stadium is there's a lot of Rangers fans, which to me it doesn't matter. It's brought a lot of families together. A lot of mums and dads take their children to that game. Now they have got the ladies football teams on these sites. I mean, that took a long time before that ever happened, because even when I was at school, I'm 48 now. Now, when I was at high school, I remember me and this other girl, obviously, it was just, I wasn't into football, but what it was, I just wanted to make a statement to say, look, girls can play football as well. And did we get a shown up? Yes, we did. But it was just to prove a point. But years later, then girls were able to play football at school. But it was just to make that statement to say, look, it's a bit sexist thing. I mean, football has always been known. I mean, it's like the Rangers, Celtic is that's obviously was founded in 1987. So I was the 6th of November 1987. It's 137 years ago. 137 years ago. I mean, and obviously Rangers that's 153 years ago. Actually, for some reason, thought it was one. I thought the Celtic one was older, but it just shows you. I mean, because I don't pay attention to football at all, but I like the idea of having with these two teams, and they go play Hearts and Thistle and things like that, and they have brought a lot of love and things like that, and obviously they go play abroad. So, but their stadiums but their Ibrox Stadium's actually is in Ibrox near Govan, and Celtic is in Parkhead, just up by the city centre. They're two beautiful stadiums, but they don't just get used for football. A lot of people use them for concerts and things like that, so it just generate a lot of money. Plus, you can hire the halls out as well for like weddings or birthday parties or whatever. So if anybody's interested in hiring any of the halls out, then you can. You can get tours round the buildings. As I said, I mean, I've met Walter Smith, but I remember my second youngest, and he met a few of the Celtic players when Henrik Larsson was playing. And Henrik Larsson was an amazing football player at his time as well. There was Bobo Baldi and things like that. I remember that. But because my son got pictures taken with him, and he was at that time, I mean, he was only just started primary school, so you think how excited, because we told him that, oh, by the way, that you're going to the dentist. So he thought he was going to the dentist and end up he get pictures taken with some of his favourite players, and then obviously get taken to the game later on that night. And obviously his favourite football player, Bobo Baldi, scored a good few goals. So you just think, for a child to see that, how excited they were for their favourite player at that time. I mean, as I said, I remember when Ally McCoy was playing, and there was plenty other. There was Brian Laudrup and things like that. It's like, I mean, there's that many players. Many passed away. Some obviously passed away. As I say, Walter Smith passed away a few years ago. Which is very sad. And there's a lot of Celtic players, old players from both sides that have sadly passed away. But there's a lot of international players now that have come into these two teams, and it obviously the thing is money. But to me, when you're buying the merchandise, because that goes back into their pockets, so it does into for the players and things like that. So you're basically paying for, not just that, obviously buying tickets and things like that. Not just tickets, food at that anyway, and half the food's disgusting. You're better off buying burgers for the outside vans and eating it and then going in, because nowadays it's like you've got to have a card, or because it's no cash, which is, I think, is terrible. Because what if you only carry cash? Because you're not allowed to, obviously. But I was, as a wheelchair user, I was treated fairly. So I was when my daughter took me to the Rangers Women's Football Club, and it was an amazing day, Um, so we got to meet Broxby and things like that. That was absolutely fantastic. Because two of them have got their mascots. Rangers have got a bear, and I think if I remember rightly, Celtic have got the dog. I don't know if they still have, but I'm sure they still have, because these are two big mascots for their teams. So, but these teams have been going about for such a long time. As I said, they're rivals when it comes to the Old Firm game, but off pitch, they're friends. I mean, because like it's like any kind of game. It's like whatever, tennis, whatever. It's like, but you have you want to win that game. You want to win that game for that your side of that team. Also, it's just as people in the stadium. I mean, it's like for my first time going to a football match a good few years ago as a women's thing. I mean, you get your adrenaline's pumping. So it is, because it's banging the drums and things like that, and you can hear people, they're whistling and they're singing along, and it's I mean, to me, it's a family language, and there shouldn't ever be any. To me, a lot of the football is very political now, which it should never be. Football should never have anything to do with politics, nothing, because it was never about that. Um, if it wasn't for these people back in the time starting these clubs up, and you've got to remember that these Rangers, there was only a few boys that started playing a bit of football, wanted something to do, and that's how that became Rangers Football Club. Again, this was a priest that started this up in the late times for Celtic, because in like Brigton and things like that, the areas around surrounding the areas, it was the poverty was it was really bad. So obviously to get kids, to keep them busy, obviously creating, because it's obviously football. The football's also created a lot back then. It was made for. I knew it was some. It's like there is a lot of history behind the footballs and things like that. I can't remember what they were made of, but they weren't. It was because my uncle's got one actually sitting in his boxing gym, and I've always said to him, "You should actually get a casing for that." So I mean, because he's very Rangers, so he is, and he has been for. He's been sporting. He's in his late 80s now, so he is. In fact, probably in his 90s now, if I remember. But because obviously he married my grand's sister. Obviously she's passed away now, so it's like Manny Annie. She's only because obviously my uncle owns a boxing gym, and he. But so these, I mean, the memories that you get tell with these people, obviously all your family members and how things were back then, because things you don't realise how lucky you actually are. People have the internet. I mean, but it's not even that. It's not even lucky you are. I think people were more happier back even then. But you think even though they had nothing, it's you didn't have all this internet and all this bullying and things like that. Yeah, it's good to connect, but a lot of the kids are very on their screens with computers, where they're not getting out to play. Now, I mean, it's like, which I think needs to happen, because there's not a lot of things still, even in 2025, there's not a lot of things for children to do. I mean, there's community centres are shutting. So it's like community centres, even when I was growing up, you had all sorts of things happening for karate, dancing, th- drama, and a lot of that is now slowly going. It's like slowly in, because obviously the city councils have not got the money to keep the. But I think if we got communities together and help, maybe just generate a bit of money and keep these buildings open, because it's important. It's for each community in each areas. Doesn't matter if you stay here in the UK or abroad. I think if we do something for our kids and keep them occupied, keep them away from crimes, it's important to have things like that done, because our kids are, as I've said in another video, are our next generation, and so is our grandchildren. So it's something to leave that legacy for, and maybe they'll do something for their kids, etc., etc., because it saves them getting into the line of drugs and drink, because obviously drink and drugs are a big thing, and we need to try and nip that in the bud. We need to nip crime in the bud, because there's far too many kids, which seems to be a really big, enormous phase for some reason. I don't know if it's maybe a singer or whatever, but they wear a lot of these balaclavas nowadays. If it's not on their bikes, they're walking about the street. It's not. They need that. I think all that, these sort of face covers need to be stopped, because you don't know who's underneath that. And a lot of shops are now stopping young people coming in unless they're with a parent, because they're coming in. And my daughter works in a big shop, and the amount of young people come in, and what do they steal? The alcohol in the shop. Everybody's been told, do not grab them, just let them go. Just let them go. It's any shop, it's the same as the city centre. And I know a few staff in some of the staff, and it's like they say we've just got to go, because they've been told not to put their life at risk. And it's terrible that this is happening in society. So what can we do as a society to keep our kids committing these crimes? Because it's happening far too often. Young people are committing far too much crimes. Now this is where Rangers and Celtic back in the times helped offer the thingy of football, and hats off to the people that did that. Now how can we implement that and bring it into today's times? Because to stop our kids doing exactly the same as what happened then. So, I mean, let's, as mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunties, uncles, let's get ideas circling, and let's actually think about how can we actually stop our kids going out into the street committing crimes and targeting other teenagers. I mean, I seen it was a young boy, and he's autistic. I've got children that are autistic. I'm autistic, right? And this young boy has got the badge, and it said, I am autistic. And he's obviously gets wee music, because autistic children love music, right? And that wee boy was targeted. So he was targeted, not just by an older gentleman, but some young people in it, and if it wasn't for this YouTuber coming in going, hey, 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 hey. But there was people walking by, and not one person did anything. See, if I seen something in the street like that, I swear I would say something. I've got a big mouth in me, I'm not even kidding. My kids say, you end up getting into trouble, mum. But I don't care. If you see something, say something, because we need to teach our children about respect. Series in the times, and that's what I respect, even as someone that grew up. These football clubs, hats off to them, still today, going about, still today in 2025. Both times, as I say, they have their rivals. But back then, they brought communities together. So how can we do that now as communities up and down the UK? How can we teach our kids to get a grip and stop wearing this big phase? I know phases come in and out and all that, but wherever you got your phases from, or these face masks, I don't know if it's some singer or some actor, which you don't copy these people, be yourself, be who your authentic self. Don't cause trouble. If you want to hang about with your friends, fine, but you don't need to, don't follow that crowd. Do you know what I mean? Be a better person. And guys, as parents, teach your kids to respect each other. Okay. And as I say, I mean, with Rangers and Celtic, hats off to both teams for doing what they did for children back in the times. It's like with kicking out of Rangers, it was just kids themselves. Celtic, as I said, was a priest and bringing it. Now it's our time to do the same with our children of 2025. Sending love and light, and good night.